What's going on, guys? So in this video I'm going to talk about breeding, and this is just my method of doing it. Other people have success doing it in different ways, so just keep that in mind, that there's not one right way, there's not one wrong way. It's whatever way works best for you and your animals. The best thing that you can do is reach out to as many people as possible, ask them the questions, and get all of their opinions and their advice. People that have more experience than me, or you obviously, so they know more, and then get their advice, put it all together, and then that way you'll have the best knowledge from multiple different strategies that you can basically put into your own, that works best for your situation. So there's a lot to unpack in this video, a lot of information, but a lot of this is through experience, but also learning from others. Right here. So my way is definitely a little bit on a safer side. I don't try to rush these things. So first things first is for the females. A couple things. One, bare minimum, regardless of age or anything like that, 50 grams. The reason being, they're going to lose weight when they start laying eggs. They're going to take away those nutrients. You can read online that, if you breed them while they're still small, it will actually hurt their growth potential, because think about that. That's a full year of actually developing and laying eggs. So it's going to take a lot of nutrients out of their body. So I always wait till they're 50 grams first and foremost. And then the second thing is whatever comes first out of these two. So 50 grams in either 2 years of age, or they lay their duds. As long as you have 50 grams, if you wait for one of those other two, just one of them, then you're good to go. If they lay duds, then they can produce, even if they laid at 1.5 years old. And if they haven't laid duds but they've hit 2 years old, they're sexually mature at that time. So that's an important thing, is size, the age. Second thing is a lay box. You always want to have that handy. In that way, what I do, I put them in once they hit about 35 grams. The reason being is because whenever they're ready to lay duds, I want it to be there for them. I don't want to have to, just lay it on the ground or anything like that, because that's not natural to them. So I always keep a lay box in there as soon as they hit 35, so that way it's ready to go once they start laying duds, and they kind of get the hang of, digging and covering and burying the eggs. And then the third thing is to keep track of their lay cycle. This is just important when they start breeding. They won't be consistent when they're laying duds. When they start breeding, they will be more consistent. Typically with females, it's about 30 to 60 days in my experience. It's important to keep track of that, so that way when she's gonna lay next. Because once you get the first one to the second, then you'll know when that third one is coming, and you'll know pretty much like in future years as well. Typically they stick to the same schedule. Each female is different, but they'll be the same pretty much throughout their life. So I always want to make sure of that, and I write it down, so that way I know once it's in that, I give it like a small window. Once it's in that window, I'll start checking every single day for those eggs. Last thing you'd want to do is not know that she laid. Sometimes they're really good at covering it up and making it look like the ground, wasn't disturbed or anything. So the last thing you'd want to do is have them lay the eggs and nothing about it, and then you lose basically, 2 babies that you could have had. So that's an important thing. On the male side, this is a lot simpler. Reason being is because they aren't producing any of the eggs. They just need to be big enough to mate with the female and old enough to actually be able to be mature for that. So the first thing is 1.5 years old. That's an important thing, so that way they're actually able to breed. And then the second thing is 40 grams. The reason it's less for the male is because he's not producing eggs. He's not going to take a toll on his nutrients. But it is important to keep this in mind. They need to be within 10 grams of each other. The reason being is because if you have a 40-gram male and a 60-gram female, chances are she's not going to let him breed with him. He's not going to be big enough to, how you ever seen them, they bite each other. He tries to pin her down and breed with her. So whenever there's that much of a difference, it's going to increase the chance of the male being injured or not successfully breeding. So that's an important thing. If the female's 60, the male's 40, I'd wait till he at least gets to 50 before that, and vice versa as well. If the female is, 50, but the male is 65, I will wait till they get within 10 grams of each other. So that's the prerequisites. Once you have those covered, now it's time to go. Now it's time to get right into the breeding. So when it comes to breeding, this is my method of working. You can look at videos. There's going to be different ways to do that. I had learned this from Nico at Grizzly Geckos. It's important to always reach out to people and ask them what they do. He's been in it for over 15 years breeding gargoyle geckos. So whenever you get to talk to someone like that, you want to hold on to every single word that they have, because obviously they know a lot more than I do. So this is what's worked for me. This is a lot of what I've learned from him. So basically this method is good for if you are low on males and you have a lot of females. The reason this is good is because if you're more likely to have compatibility issues, the larger the group that they're in. Chances are it's less if it's just a 1.1, a male and a female. But if you have like a 1-2, a 1-3 group, right, that's a lot higher probability of one of them getting bullied or losing weight or not being able to breed or injuring each other. So I don't like to do that, me personally. And as I've started using his method, it's actually worked a lot better, and I've had pretty much no issues at all with one of them dropping weight, or one of them like not getting along or anything. Sometimes that can happen. You put, let's just say, like a 1-2 group, 1 male to 2 females. I've had that happen before, where the female, once they're in there, get stressed or bullied, they drop a bunch of weight where they're going below 50. So then you have to take them out, and then you have to wait a couple more months till she can get back up in weight. So I use this method because you don't really have to deal with any of that. So basically what it is you're rotating the males into each female. So once everything is met between like the male and female requirements, you have the proper enclosure set up, you have it big enough that both of them can get along. You have enough stuff in there so breaks, they can go to their own little areas of the enclosure. You don't have to worry about that. Now it's time to put them together. So how this method works is you can practically breed one male to as many females as possible. You could bring one male if you needed to 10 females. And it reduces their time together. So that way there's going to be less likely that they, fight each other or get injured or anything like that. So basically, what has worked for me is what I will do. So once they both hit their weights, all right, the female's in her enclosure. I take the male, put him into the female's enclosure. I do that so that way the female, her scent's around there, she doesn't have to move around as well. But then once the male's in there, he can start smelling her. He knows what's going on at that point. So once he's in there, basically what I'm doing, this is important to keep track of this stuff. I leave him in there for about 5 to 7 days. Just depending on how I'm seeing, like if I witness a lock between them, okay, you're good. Maybe if you just want to play safe, I'll leave them in there for a week. All right, so I leave them in there for a week. Then what you do, you take the male out of the female's enclosure. So once he's out of the female's enclosure, you let him in his enclosure for about 3 to 4 days and let him rehydrate, let him eat. The number one cause of a prolapse, which is when they're, their male parts, let's just say that, I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of that, they come out of their body, and sometimes they won't go back in, and then you have to go get surgery on them, then it makes them pretty much, they can no longer breed. So in order to avoid that, you need to make sure the male is hydrated. And sometimes when you have one male and a bunch of females, he's going to be so focused on breeding with them that he won't eat or hydrate or really take care of himself, because, you know, that's their instincts, is to breed. So this is important. Once they're in for a week, you take the male out, and then you leave him on his own for about 3 to 4 days. This whole time you're monitoring the weight. You know, you don't want to see these huge drops or anything like that. So he's staying the same. Then all you have to do, take that male after he's been in his enclosure, you know he's good to go. Next female, same thing. 7 days, take him out, rehydrate 3 to 4 days. Next female, 7 days, take him out, rehydrate. Repeat until he's been with all of your females. Then when that happens, now it's down to waiting. Okay, all you want to do is you just want to wait and wait till the female lays her eggs. Once that happens, that's when you want to repair the male with her. Once she lays her eggs, I will give them about 3 to 4 days to make sure that she's back to eating. You know, she's gonna lose a little bit of weight. Make sure to get that weight back up. Give her some insects dusted. Make sure she's good again. So give it about 3 to 4 days after she's laid her eggs, and then put the male back in there. Same cycle, 7 days, take him out. Give him at least 3 to 4 days before you put him with the next female if she's already laid. Then what happens, let's just say we have that first female. This is the second time he's been in with her. We'll just say 45 days goes by from the first clutch to the second, and then she lays another one. Okay, there you go. Now you know she's going to lay about every 45 days. So now this is when it starts getting really easy. Because after she lays, same thing, about 3 to 4 days of recovery time. Take the male, put him back with her for a week, take him out. Now you have it timed down. Now you know in about 45 days, give or take a couple days, there's going to be another set of eggs. They'll do that pretty consistently. This method is good, so that way you can have one male to as many females. It limits the time that they're in there together, so less time for injuries or fighting, and you don't have to worry about putting them in a large group. Because here's the issue: if you have two females, we'll say, you know, one is 60, one is 50, the male's 40. That's not going to work out. You know, it could work out, but chances are you're going to run into some problems just because of the difference in weights, sizes, personalities, attitudes, all that type of stuff. So what this method is going to help out is if you have more than one female. If you do have one female, there's nothing wrong with leaving them together. However, even me personally in that situation, I would separate them because I've had injuries happen before from breeding and everything. So this way you're less likely to have any injuries or anything like that. So hope this helps with people. Again, this is a more hands-on approach. You know, you have to be timing things. You have to be constantly checking in on them. Well, not constantly, but obviously, you know, every day, you know, you check in on them. And then you also need to make sure that you're recording things and you aren't procrastinating or anything like that. You got to be up on that stuff. But this can help you if you've run into health issues or anything like that with your animals. And also this will help you if you have a male to multiple females. In my opinion, this is the best method that has worked for me because, for example, one of my males this year is going to be bred to 4 females. There's no way, I won't say no way, but chances are it's a small likelihood that would actually work out if they were in a group. And even if they were in a group, I would never put 4 females or 5 in one enclosure because, you know, I would have to, you know, that chances are you're going to get issues. But then that means I would have to think of, if I don't have enough males, maybe a female or 2 isn't going to be able to have babies this year because I wouldn't want to keep them in a large group or anything. So a female or 2 might have to sit out for a year. So this is why I've really enjoyed this method. It has worked for me. So this will help you guys out if you have multiple females, or if you aren't around all the time and can't, you know, you don't want to keep a constant 24/7 eye on them when they're together because you're afraid of them hurting each other or anything. This would mainly help people that are willing to, you know, be up on their stuff, but also they want to breed with multiple females and they don't want to run into as many issues. So just make sure female male requirements are met. Then after that, you're putting them together, you're separating, putting together, separating, putting together, separating. And the most important thing is you have to make sure it's after she lays her eggs. The best time to do it, if weight permits, is right after she lays a set of duds. Because, you know, if she's already, let's just say she lays every 45, it takes 45 days for her to develop her eggs. If she's been developing duds and it's on the 30th day, well, even if you put them together, she can't just already start, you know, just developing the fertile eggs right away. You know, you have to wait till the duds go out there. So, I mean, that's my guess. I'm not a scientist or anything like that. But what I'd try doing is if you can time up the duds, put them in right after the duds. That's the best bet. If you can't, that's okay too. Just know that there is a potential that if she was already developing duds in her, that first set is going to be duds. But anyways, if you guys have any questions about this, again, I'm always say this, you know, even 10 years down the line, I'm not an expert or anything like that, but I can help you out with whatever knowledge or information that I have. But this has just worked for me. It's not the right way or the wrong way. It's whatever way works for you and your animals, and that's the most important thing. Make sure you do your research, making sure you're putting the time and the effort into them, and then what you reap is what you sow. What you put into them is what you're going to get back out. So I hope this helps, guys. If you have any questions, all right, 3 ways: Facebook, Red Rack, Instagram, Red Rack, or email, redrack@gmail.com. And also, if you want to give a follow to Nico, it's at Grizzly Geckos. He's in Canada. His Instagram is a little deceiving. He doesn't post that much, but he has a ton of knowledge, a ton of you know, information to give to you, and he has some really nice animals as well. So thanks for watching, guys. Next couple videos, I have a couple plans in introducing some of the breeding males and females, but if you made it this far, I appreciate you guys. If you need anything, just let me know.